Dressing up as men's clothing times Shuangjie times Dominant CEO times Cute baby times Sweet pet. What Mo Qingrong didn't expect the most was that her chastity, which she had maintained for 20 years, was defeated by a glass of wine. The next day when she woke up, she looked at the man's sleeping face and slipped away. The man woke up and saw a 5 yuan RMB left by the bed, and then found out that the object of last night was actually a man. Li Qing lived for 26 years and never suffered such humiliation, but unfortunately, he still couldn't find out the identity of that person. Unexpectedly, he became his boss when we met again. Li Qing accepted the fact that he had fallen in love with Mo Qingrong and immediately went to confess his love. "I like men, do you understand?" "Unfortunately, boss, I'm a woman," and politely declined. "Mo Qingrong, do you dare to play with me?" 5 years later, at the airport in a city, the woman returned with her cute treasure. In the CEO's office, Li Qing murmured, "Woman, you can't escape." Chapter 1. Inexplicably got into bed with someone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The busiest place in City A is the Imperial Palace of Huadu. Mo Qingrong was wandering among them, and she found out that the person who posted the battle post for her was here. A few days ago, she received an email challenging her position in the hacker organization. You should know that this email was sent to her private email, which few people know about, indicating that person's skills are not small. She naturally wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. Originally, the sparring was scheduled for 9 p.m. last night, but when it was time, that person didn't come. That person actually stood him up. It was great, and he was very brave. She searched all night and only found out the whereabouts of that person. It was in this bar, so she came over. In order not to attract attention, she also pretended to be playing at the bar, ordered a glass of wine, wandered around, and watched the location on her phone getting closer and closer. Who could it be? Mo Qingrong suddenly felt that something was wrong with his body, and from inside, it slowly became like a fire, scorching hot. She didn't know that the glass of wine she had just ordered was Blue Tail Red Flame, which had an aphrodisiac effect. People who often came to this bar knew about it, but she was here for the first time and specially ordered the strongest one to look like it. Mo Qingrong feels something is getting worse and worse. Is it a fever? She watched as the location on her phone got closer and closer, and the elevator stopped on the 16th floor. The elevator door opened, and as soon as she took a step, her leg softened and she almost fell, making it difficult to see clearly in front of her. With the help of her memory, she knocked on a room door. The person inside the door reached out a pair of big hands and pulled him in, like a collision of two volcanoes, creating a beautiful room. The next morning, Mo Qingrong woke up first. She looked at the man lying beside her, with sculptural perfect features, sharp edges, and strong chest muscles covered in red scratches, indicating how intense it was last night. She didn't know how things would develop like this, she just came to find someone and inexplicably got into bed with them. She felt excruciating pain as soon as she moved, and she still remembered some of yesterday's situation. This man was like a wolf touching fat, hungry and thirsty, desperately demanding her. But now is not the time to think too much. She needs to quickly leave here, get up and see the blue and purple marks on her body, and then curse this man more than 800 times in her heart. She first picked up the chest band on the ground, her hands sore and painful. Thinking of the man's bad behavior last night, she cursed him 800 times and could only slowly cling on, hoping that the man wouldn't wake up. Yes, Mo Qingrong is a woman, and there may not be a third person in the world who knows. After she finished putting on the shabby clothes that had been ravaged, she regained a bit of a noble gentleman's demeanor. Mo Qingrong felt that she couldn't walk so easily. She found a piece of paper in the cabinet, wrote a few words, flipped through her pocket, and specially found the smallest denomination of paper coin to leave for this man. Outside the bar, a flashy red Ferrari was parked outside the door. The man, dressed in a flashy pink suit, stood outside the door, his peach blossom eyes lingering around, causing the women around him to turn back frequently. When Mo Qingrong came out, he saw this scene, which is his usual style. Han Wei, the third member of a hacker organization, coincidentally met Mo Qingrong and learned that she was the boss. He wholeheartedly followed him and was also the only person in the world who knew that Mo Qingrong's gender was female. Han Wei watched as Mo Qingrong slowly walked out. His clothes were all wrinkled, and there were still those ambiguous marks on his neck. Han Wei had been lingering in the romantic scene for many years, so he naturally knew what it was. Damn it, who did it? I'll go kill him, Han Wei said angrily. Except for oneself, no one knows Mo Qingrong's true gender. Now that there is a third person, he is still the first person to have her, and he feels a sense of crisis for the first time. Han Wei likes Mo Qingrong. He confessed his feelings, but Mo Qingrong refused. He still shamelessly followed her with a carefree appearance. He believed that one day she would be moved by his sincerity, but last night a man suddenly appeared and slept with the little wolf cub he had been coveting for a long time. He was very angry, and even if she didn't say it, he would find out on his own. Mo Qingrong hates the words, death, that he says the most, which is unlucky. Don't keep shouting and fighting. The wine I drank yesterday was problematic, and he saved me once. Besides, he didn't see my face either. Mo Qingrong was very certain because when she entered the room yesterday, the lights were off, and no matter how much happened in the middle, it was all happening in the darkness. She only saw the man's face clearly when she woke up in the morning. Moreover, in the eyes of outsiders, even if you are a man, you will not doubt him. Is there something wrong with the wine? Han Wei suddenly thought of something. Damn it, Mo Qingrong, what wine did you order? He is a regular at this bar, and he knows some tricks about it. It seems like it's called some kind of flame or tail, Mo Qingrong recalled carefully. Blue-tailed red flame. Yes, that's it. I also ordered the strongest one. Han Wei patted his head and said, it's my fault. I didn't tell you in advance. The wine you ordered is for aphrodisiac purposes, and regular customers of this bar know it. Chapter 2. Infiltration into the enemy's interior. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mo Qingrong punched him in the chest and said, do you know you're not reminding me? There's so much alcohol in the bar, I didn't expect you to order this. Han Wei looked at her pitifully. Everything has already happened, no one can blame it, only oneself for bad luck. Alright, take me home. Mo Qingrong sat in the back seat, while Han Wei drove the car in front of him, fulfilling his duties as a driver. Brother Mo, when will you leave your shabby place? Han Wei suddenly asked. Han Wei refers to her foster parents. Mo Qingrong also rubbed his head and said, it's not the time yet. Mo Qingrong was adopted, and she had an older brother. When she was 10 years old, her mother died, and she and her brother were sent to an orphanage. In the orphanage, boys and girls are separated. When she was a child, she couldn't do without her brother. In order to protect her at all times, her brother dressed her up as a boy. But unexpectedly, during a trip, there was a car accident and her brother died. People around her said so, but she didn't believe it because she hadn't seen his body. She had always believed that he was still alive. Later on, he was adopted by a couple and became accustomed to dressing up as a man. He never took off his mask, and his adoptive parents always thought he was his son. Adoptive father Mo Yunzhou also chose to adopt him because he was a boy and he looked good, just to have a son to support him in his old age. Li Qing, the foster mother, is an authentic rural person. She usually speaks louder and rougher, but she is honest and sincere, without any bad intentions. She also treats Mo Qingrong as her own. They have a daughter. When Li Qing gave birth, she had difficulty giving birth and suffered heavy bleeding. She managed to save her life, but she will never have children again. The two of them have been doting on this daughter since they were young, and she doesn't know how to handle it. She always causes various troubles outside. At the beginning, Mo Yunzhou even boasted that he would not disappoint Lin Qing. Lin Qing felt guilty for not being able to give birth to a son for her husband. So when Mo Yunzhou said he wanted to adopt a son, she immediately agreed. Lin Qing liked Mo Qingrong very much and felt that she had a connection with him. Without thinking about it, she decided to take him. But later on, Mo Yunzhou made a small fortune in business and became restless. He found a mistress outside and didn't treat Mo Qingrong as well as he did at the beginning. After all, he wasn't biological. Lin Qing is still kept in the dark, being a homemaker at home, and their daughter Mo Jiahui is also not used to it. Knowing that Mo Qingrong is not her own brother, she tries every way to bully him every day. When Lin Qing sees her, she scolds her severely, but there are always times when she is not around, and she bullies him even more. Gradually, Mo Jiahui no longer cared about her mother and bullied Mo Qingrong in front of her. Lin Qing wanted to educate her again, but it was too late and could only silently protect Mo Qingrong. Mo Qingrong endured in this family for 10 years. If it weren't for checking his brother's clues and staying in a city, he needed this identity to cover up himself, and he couldn't bear to see his foster mother as his own. He would have left long ago. By chance, she joined an international hacker organization, discovered her talent in computer science, and even met Han Wei. He felt that heaven had favored him and wouldn't let him mess up. For the past decade, she has been constantly searching for news about her brother, but there has been no clue until recently when he discovered that the car accident was related to Li Qing. But she couldn't break through Li's firewall no matter what, let alone find clues. So, he decided to infiltrate the enemy's interior. On the other side, on the 3-meter-wide bed of 1602, the sleeping man opened his eyes and immediately looked around like a wolf searching for prey. He looked down at the scratches on his body and the scattered clothes around him. His eyebrows furrowed and he rubbed his head again, hissing and having a headache. He only remembered drinking the wine handed over by Yi Jin yesterday, and when he returned to the room, his body began to heat up. Later, it seemed like someone was knocking on the door, and he pulled them in. However, he couldn't control himself anymore. Looking at the intense battle in the room, Li Qing's face was gloomy like eternal ice. Suddenly, he saw the note on the bedside table and the 5 yuan banknote pressed on it. After reading the words on it, his face was gloomy and he could almost drip water. Yi Jin, how dare you give him medicine? It's great, it seems he's had enough comfortable days. In the night of 1601, Jin suddenly sneezed. In the early morning, who scolded the young master? Oh no, I don't know how third brother is doing. The third brother he spoke of was naturally Li Qing, and he couldn't bear to see him abstain at a young age. Yesterday, he gave him some food and planned to send him a woman over, and also let him have sex. As he carried the woman over, he heard the sound inside the door. Passing through the flowers of the night brocade, he naturally knew what it was and quickly took the woman back. Chapter 3. Preparing Women. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He was also grateful that third brother finally had the idea, but he didn't know which woman it was. Is it Su Lingluo? For so many years, only Su Lingluo and Li Qing have been rumored to have an affair. The scandal between the movie queen and the person in charge of the Li family caused a huge uproar online, and even the Weibo server crashed several times. As Yi Jin thought about it, he couldn't wait to go and watch the excitement. But then he realized that his brother must have been very tired last night, and he finally got the medicine. It was very strong, and I don't know if Su Lingluo's small body can bear it. He stopped lifting the blanket and immersed himself in his imagination. The third brother opened the meat and tasted the benefits. He must have thanked him well and asked him to think about what he wanted. The villa in Yuhu is still the cool and stunning Kongseg in Sanji's garage, and even the private island in M Island. Yi Jin thought to herself and burst out laughing like this. If anyone else is present, you must think Yi Jin is foolish. In room 1602 next to him, Li Qing had a severe headache. He grabbed his nearby phone and called Gu Lin. Gu Lin was already waiting outside. When he saw the phone, he quickly picked up his phone and continued. Check out the woman who entered my room last night and bring a set of clothes to my room. The cold and abstinent voice of Li Qing came from the phone. Gu Lin was momentarily shocked and forgot his movements. What? The CEO has a woman now. According to the CEO's instructions, did the two of them still sleep? What exactly is sacred? Gu Lin couldn't help but gossip. Li Qing sat on the bed, closed his eyes and regained his composure. He didn't even lift his eyelids when he heard a knock on the door from outside. Come in, he said. Gu Lin trembled and took his clothes in, looking at the scene inside the room, and couldn't help but take a breath. How intense this is. What about women? Does it seem like there are no women in the CEO's bed? Li Qing didn't move, and naturally couldn't see Gu Lin's scrutinizing gaze. If he had seen it, it would have been possible to scratch his eyeballs just like it is now. How's the matter? You were asked to investigate. Li Qing asked lazily. Gu Lin regained his senses and felt a bit guilty. President, the hotel surveillance was hacked yesterday, and I can't recover. I can't find any clues. Waste, Li Qing said coldly. Gu Lin dared not refute, but lowered his head to listen. The CEO scolded him, which was also an encouragement for him. After all, except for the CEO, everyone else was praising him. Since the CEO scolded him as useless, it must be because he still had room for improvement. Li Qing opened his eyes and said, "Put down your clothes and go out." Gu Lin took a breath, put down his clothes, and turned around to go out. Wait. Li Qing's cold voice came from behind. What other instructions does the president have? Bring me the night brocade. Yes. Gu Lin walked into the corridor and knocked on the door of 1601 next door. Yi Jin was still immersed in her beautiful dream. When she opened the door, she saw that it was Gu Lin and woke up a bit. Late at night, the CEO asked me to carry you to his place, Gu Lin said in a formal manner. Just as he was about to pick up the clothes behind his neck, he said, "Wait, if you have anything to say, I'll just walk over by myself. I won't bother you anymore." Yi Jin doesn't know what happened. Why is it different from what he thinks? Judging from third brother's attitude, things are not going well. Immediately flattering, he looked at Gu Lin and said, "Did third brother say what happened?" The president didn't say anything. Knowing that he could not get anything out of Gu Lin, he walked into 1602, ready for the storm. But as soon as he walked in, he was so shocked by the sight in front of him that he couldn't speak. The most shocking thing was the marks on his third brother's back, which were clearly scratched by a woman. His third brother's abilities were really not covered. Li Qing was changing clothes when he heard footsteps. He knew it was Yi Jin coming, and his movements were not affected at all. He slowly put on his clothes, tidied up his suit, and regained his cool and ascetic demeanor. He turned around, holding a mobile phone in his hand. Yi Jin saw that it was him who accidentally left it here. He walked up to inquire about what happened last night. As soon as Yi Jin took a step, Li Qing's phone hit his feet. Yi Jin's feet softened and he almost knelt down for his third brother. Yi Jin is a wandering little demon king at home, who doesn't listen to anyone. A few years ago, he was defeated by Li Qing, and since then, he has only listened to him, not everything. Looking at the black mist on Sanji's face, Yi Jin was really scared. What's going on? Why is it so far from what he thinks? At this moment, Li Qing spoke up, "Yi Jin, you did a good job." Yi Jin dared not even pick up her phone on the ground. "Third brother, I am also kind-hearted, and the woman I prepared for you is also useless to you, isn't it?" The further he spoke, the quieter his voice became, indicating a guilty expression. "Great, did you prepare a woman for me? It seems that you've been too relaxed lately. You've been calculating on me when you're idle. Yi Jin panicked and said, "No, third brother, good brother. I'm not relaxed at all. I'm really busy every day. I have a meeting later, so I won't be with third brother anymore. I just want to slip away." "Stop, did I let you go?" Upon hearing Li Qing's words, Yi Jin couldn't take a step anymore and immediately changed his smiling face. "Third brother, what else is there? I will definitely go through fire and water. I won't hesitate," he said. Chapter 4 Introduces a man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Jin trembled and lifted his well-defined claws, solemnly swearing. "I remember yesterday you said the eagle would come to find you." That's right, it was Yi Jin who stood up Mo Qingrong's pigeon. Yi Jin is the second in a hacker organization and has been wanting to know the true face of this eagle boss for a long time, which is why this matter of standing up a pigeon came up. He knew that eagle boss would definitely not easily let him go. As expected, someone was checking his location yesterday. Later, he watched as the boss got closer and closer to him, and accidentally left his phone in third brother's room. No way. Is that so? Ah. In Yi Jin's heart, 10,000 grass and mud horses galloped past. It wasn't Eagle Boss who came to see third brother last night, was it? Isn't it Su Ling Luo? Everyone else was silly. He smelt the smell of the room carefully, which made people daydream. There was no perfume smell from Su Ling. Every time I see Su Ling Luo, I can smell the choking perfume on her from a distance. There is no one in this room. The night brocade is very sure, not Su Ling Luo. The night brocade man is like being struck by lightning. I heard that the leader of the hacker organization is a handsome boy, but the point is, he is a man. His third brother is also a man. Due to my own negligence, I actually however, judging from Sanji's condition, it should be the one above. Yi Jin dared not look at her third brother, her heart becoming increasingly empty, and she dared not even take a big breath. Then I heard the voice of the third brother again. The hotel surveillance was hacked yesterday. You go check and see if it's the eagle's pen. Restore the surveillance and bring out the woman from last night. Women. Yi Jin was puzzled and asked cautiously, "Third brother, are you sure it was a woman who slept last night?" Li Qing just wanted to hit him. How could he possibly sleep with a man? Suddenly, something came to my mind. I didn't turn on the lights last night, and I was drugged, so my consciousness was unclear and I couldn't remember many details. I only remember when I was deeply in love. He held the back of the person's head. It's a neat short hair with a bit of a prick, and Li Qing doesn't have any experience in this area. He can't distinguish whether it's a man or a woman. Which woman would leave such short hair in such a place? Are you looking for a woman or a man? The answer goes without saying, he can only be a man. Yi Jin watched as third brother wanted to beat him up, then withdrew his hand and frowned tightly, pondering something. It's over, it's really over now. How should he face the ancestors of the Li family? He accidentally gave his brother a man in bed, who he had admired for a long time. It's completely over now. Fortunately, the boss doesn't know him yet and doesn't know if he did it. Otherwise, he would have to die 2 lives. Li Qing closed his eyes and clenched his fist. Give you 3 seconds, immediately get out of my sight. He was afraid that he couldn't help but beat Yi Jin to death, and it would be difficult to explain when the time came. Yi Jin didn't dare to fart a single fart, so she hurriedly left. Li Qing stood by the window, not knowing how many cigarettes he had smoked, before accepting the fact that he had sex with a man. Han Wei's car stopped at the intersection a few hundred meters away from the community, and Mo Qingrong got off from it and walked back home. Since Mo Yunzhou became wealthy, he replaced his house with a small villa and initially pretended to be with Mo Qingrong. However, with the help of a mistress, he immediately drove Mo Qingrong to live in the miscellaneous room. Is it to make room for his future biological son? Lin Qing wanted to persuade Mo Yunzhou, but she could only exchange it for a scolding. Her foster mother was honest and had been angry with Mo Yunzhou, never thinking of resisting. She could only take better care of Mo Qingrong. Mo Qingrong rang the doorbell, and it was her sister, the biological daughter of her foster parents, Mo Jiahui, who opened the door. "Yo, where have you been fooling around? You've also learned the trick of staying up at night." Mo Jiahui's sharp and sarcastic voice rang out as the door opened. "No, yesterday, I had a dinner with. And my friend drank too much. We took care of him outside." Mo Qingrong returned home and regained his submissive demeanor. Mo Jiahui looked down at him from above and saw the ambiguous marks on his neck. She sneered, "Take care of him. It sounds like that. Take care of him in bed." Mo Qingrong noticed her gaze and closed her collar without saying a word. Mo Jiahui was too lazy to pay attention to him. After all, she was not her own brother, so she turned around and entered the room. Upon hearing the commotion at the door, Li Qing quickly came out and said, "Qingrong, Jiahui is so unattractive. Please bear with her." "Mom, it's okay. Mom has also thought about it. You are about to graduate. After graduation, quickly find a job and move out from home. Don't suffer here anymore," Li Qing said, about to shed tears. "It's Mom who's not good, Mom who's sorry for you. If I had known they were treating you this way, I just wanted you to go to a better family back then. Mom, it's not your fault. I also want to thank you very much. At least you gave me a complete childhood. Mom, I am very grateful to you." Chapter 5. Hacker Organization Second Brother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mo Qingrong's words are true. If it weren't for Mo Yunzhou and Li Qing adopting her, and without her brother's protection, she might have died in that welfare home long ago. The children in the welfare home are not good at picking on each other, often fighting over a little food. After her brother left, Mo Qingrong has always been the one who was bullied. If no one had adopted her, she might have died long ago. This is also the reason why she did not leave the Mo family. There are still some feelings in her heart. Although Mo Yunzhou is not very kind to her now, she actually loved her when she was a child. Mo Qingrong looked at his familiar yet unfamiliar home and walked to his bedroom. In fact, he placed a bed in the miscellaneous room, changed his clothes, and walked to the kitchen to start cooking. In fact, with the current financial resources of the Mo family, hiring a nanny is not a difficult task, but Mo Yunzhou is probably used to frugality, or perhaps he saved the money for the pregnant third son outside. The family's food has always been cooked by Mo Qingrong. Last night he didn't come back, and Mo Jiahui could only eat the food cooked by her mother, which really didn't suit her appetite. That's why she was so angry when she saw Mo Qingrong not returning home at night. Li Qing sighed. Jiahui was a very lively and lovely little girl when she was a child. After Mo Qingrong arrived, she felt that her parents' love had been separated, and occasionally played a small temper. Mo Yunzhou and Li Qing couldn't bear to fight, always coaxing her, which developed her current spoiled temperament. Alas, I have done my own wrong. Mo Qingrong has some difficulty cooking, and it's all because of that man last night. How long was she hungry? Now she doesn't have the strength in her hands and her legs are sore. Li Qing walked to the kitchen to help, but Mo Qingrong kicked her out. Mom, you can sit on the sofa and rest. The meal will be ready in a while. Watching Mo Qingrong's sensible appearance, Li Qing felt increasingly uncomfortable in her heart. Li Qing has already driven back to the Imperial Palace, located in the center of City A. It is a place of every inch of land and every inch of gold, with value but no market. Although it is in the busiest area, the environment is elegant and has a unique flavor. Li Qing lives in the largest building in the middle, Villa 1, and Villa 3 next to him is where Yi Jin lives. However, he probably won't be able to come back to live for a while. After all, he just saw a man off Li Qing's bed. Entering the room, Wu Mama was already waiting inside. A table of dishes, stepping on the spot where Li Qing came back, was just finished. The young master is back. Let's eat something and then go back to the room to rest. Wu Mama used to serve the old lady, who was Li Qing's grandmother. Because Li Qing always didn't eat well and didn't pay attention to his health, she sent Wu Mama to watch over Li Qing and asked him to eat 3 meals a day on time. She watched the young master grow up, and as soon as the old lady said it, she came. She fulfilled her duties every day, cooking for the young master in different ways, hoping that he could eat more. Li Qing treated Wu Mama like half an elder, gentle and polite, unlike the cold and oppressive appearance outside. Li Qing had just experienced that absurd night and was not in a good mood. "Wu Mama, I won't eat for now," he said and walked straight to the study. He then started busy with work, as if wanting to use it to distract his attention and forget certain things. Wu's mother noticed that he was in a bad mood and did not force him, silently tidying up. In the study, Li Qing sat there for half an hour, not finishing a single page of the documents in his hand. Damn it, he has a bit of nostalgia for that person last night. He has never touched a woman before, so he doesn't really like men, right? He felt that he couldn't think anymore and would definitely try finding a woman if there was a chance. Night Jean in the distance, holding a computer and outputting, finally restored the hotel's surveillance. However, when I saw it with my own eyes, I still felt unbelievable and sweated profusely. On the computer screen, the surveillance camera was facing the entrance of 1602, and a thin boy walked over, seemingly intentionally avoiding the surveillance camera. He couldn't see his face clearly and could only see his back. "Oh Momo, is this the Eagle boss?" He looked so young, but when he thought of something, Yi Jin looked unattainable. Mo Qingrong walked a bit shaky, probably due to drinking alcohol. He held his phone and kept staring at the red dots inside, which were exactly where Yi Jin's phone was. He walked to the door and knocked. After a while, Li Qing, who was inside the door, reached out his hand and pulled him in. The next thing was self-evident. The next morning around 7 o'clock, Mo Qingrong came out and could clearly see the wrinkles on the clothes, as well as some torn areas. However, throughout the entire process, Mo Qingrong avoided surveillance and did not capture his face. He was also careless this time. After the incident happened, he hastily blocked the surveillance footage and wiped out his own traces. Who could have imagined that there was a master like Yi Jin present? Yi Jin is also a member of the hacker organization, ranking second. Mo Qingrong is good at attacking and defending, and the two have never had any interaction except for Yi Jin's provocation a few days ago. Yi Jin has always been very curious about this boss, but he didn't expect to harm his third brother's bed. He doesn't know how to face him in the future. Chapter 6. Employment Letter from Li Group. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In Villa 1 of the Imperial Palace, Li Qing watched the surveillance video sent by Yi Jin. The cup in his hand was instantly crushed, as if unaware of the pain. Surprisingly, he was really a man. Li Qing felt as uncomfortable as swallowing a pile of dog poop, and then looked at the message sent by Yi Jin. This man was the legendary leader of the international hacker organization, Eagle. He actually slept someone down. Li Qing's hand was punctured by the glass, and he didn't know the pain, so he sat quietly in front of the computer and watched. Wu Ma heard the commotion inside the study and knocked on the door outside. Li Qing closed the computer and shifted his gaze to another place. "Wu Ma, come in and tidy up," he said after Wu Mama came in. She saw the broken water cup on the ground and didn't ask much. She still had a sense of propriety. Looking up, I saw Li Qing's blood-dripping hand and said, "Young master, I'll bring you a medicine box. Hurry up and bandage it up." Then I anxiously ran downstairs and called Bai Fong. Bai Fong, Li Qing, the second in their small group, is a medical expert. In terms of medical expertise, he ranks second, and no one dares to call him first. After receiving the call, Bai Fong hurriedly rushed over. Fortunately, he didn't live far away, but he arrived in just 5 minutes. He looked at Li Qing's hand and said, "What's wrong with this? How did it get like this?" As he spoke, he drugged and bandaged him. Li Qing was really speechless, so he decided to remain silent. Bai Feng was also accustomed to his work style and did not ask any questions. He only explained a few things that needed attention to Wu Mama. Wu Mama had no details about Li Qing, so she carefully took a small notebook and wrote it down. Alas, after finally taking a day off and being called over by you to do some small things like bandaging, how do you plan to compensate me? Bai Feng collapsed on the sofa, casually like his own home. No, what Dr. Bai does in the hospital is research that helps promote the development of medicine. Otherwise, it's various surgeries that others cannot solve. These hands have always been valuable, but every time he comes to Li Qing's place, he breaks an example and does some small things such as disinfection and bandaging. Li Qing lazily sat on the sofa, with an indelible anger between his eyebrows. Wu Mama made a big deal out of a trivial matter, he said, "Oh, who made me rush?" After speaking, he strode out without even saying a word. Gu Lin sent an email to Li Qing, meaning that there are many things in the company and he wants to hire an additional assistant for him to ask for Li Qing's opinion. Li Qing also knew that the pressure was too great on Gu Lin alone, so he agreed to his request. However, the final list must be personally reviewed by him, and he only believed in the people he had chosen. In the afternoon, Mo's family. Mo Qingrong lay on her small bed, thinking about what happened last night. Although she was a bit confused, she remembered clearly that the red dot on her phone was at position 1602, right. She was extremely irritable and unwilling to continue thinking. She picked up her phone and started scrolling through the news. Suddenly, she saw the recruitment information released by Li Shi this afternoon, which was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as she entered Li Shi, she was one step closer to receiving clues. So Mo Qingrong began preparing her resume. She was a top student at a university and graduated in just a month. During her time at school, she had a wealth of experience and won many international awards. She had great confidence in herself, but the only thing she lacked was experience. However, she believed that Li's ability was important. Moreover, this time we are hiring the assistant of President Li, which is not just a matter of convenience for her. Gu Lin's actions were very quick. He just posted a recruitment notice at noon, and in the afternoon, he screened the resumes he received. Before leaving work, he took them to Li Qing's office. "President, these are just 2 resumes that have been selected, and both of them are very good. Ji Mingzhi has returned from studying abroad and worked for a listed company in M country for a year. His advantage lies in his experience. Mo Qingrong is currently studying at a university and has only 1 month left to graduate. However, his professional skills are very strong, and he has won several international awards. Each of these 2 people has their own advantages." Gu Lin succinctly told Li Qing about their situation in one breath. Li Qing took 2 resumes and saw the blue background ID photo on Mo Qingrong's resume at a glance. His face was very green, with a hint of immaturity, but his eyes revealed a hint of ambition. He looked at this face, as if he had seen it before, with a familiar feeling. Mo Qingrong, male, 20 years old. Li Qing made a decision to follow his heart, not even looking at Ji Mingzhi's resume. He directly told Gu Lin, "Mo Qingrong, let him come to work tomorrow." Gu Linling hesitated for a moment, "Don't you need an interview?" He could only think in his heart and dared not question the CEO's decision at all. He silently took over the resume, feeling sorry for Ji Mingzhi. In fact, he had a higher opinion of Ji Mingzhi, but when the CEO said he wanted Mo Qingrong, he believed in the CEO's judgment. Mo Qingrong received an offer letter from the Li Group at night and raised her eyebrows. Although she expected it, the speed was too fast and there was no need for an interview. Is she already so outstanding? Chapter 7. Take him with you. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Mo Qingrong was staring at the acceptance letter on the computer, lost in thought when a sound came from outside the house. It's Mo Yunzhou who has returned. He drank a lot of alcohol today, maybe he went out to socialize, but there was no sign of his usual impatience on his face. Instead, he was always happy. Mo Yunzhou took a few steps into the door and sat on the sofa. Today, he rarely scolded Mo Qingrong. In the past 2 years, every time Mo Yunzhou comes home, he has to pick on Mo Qingrong's flaws. Either the food is too salty or too light, or he hasn't gone out to greet him when he comes home. It's impolite, and today is a bit abnormal. He still treats Mo Qingrong happily. Li Qing came down from upstairs and smelled the smell of alcohol all over his body. She wrinkled her nose and walked forward, wanting to take him to the bedroom. Unexpectedly, as soon as Mo Yunzhou put her hand up, he swung his arm away from her, and Li Qing was thrown to the ground without any reaction. Before, Mo Yunzhou was very kind to Li Qing. Their lives were like a honeymoon, but after he earned money, they changed. They were not as loving as before, but they also treated each other with respect. Li Qing always thought that he was under a lot of work pressure and had to endure everything. But today, even if he drinks, he can't push her. Seeing this, Mo Qingrong quickly ran over to help her. Li Qing waved her hand and didn't need Mo Qingrong's help. She stood up on her own and looked at Mo Yunzhou, who was both familiar and unfamiliar to her, feeling disheartened. Mo Yunzhou was annoyed by her gaze and said, "What are you looking at? Something that doesn't lay eggs." This is a satire on Li Qing for not being able to give birth to a son for him. Li Qing suddenly became anxious and pointed at Mo Yunzhou's nose, cursing, "I can't give birth. Yes, I can't. I can't give birth because I gave birth to you, and it's difficult for me to give birth. After that, I won't be able to give birth. You look like a dog in a fashion show, why? Are you showing your true colors? Can't you keep pretending? Finally, you're telling the truth, you're going to abandon me, this scumbag wife." Mo Yunzhou's face turned red and white as she spoke, and he slapped her and said, "You shut up for me." Li Qing was beaten motionless, not because of the pain in her palm, but because of the pain in her heart. The physical pain was no more than 1/1000th of her heart, and she misjudged the person. Mo Yunzhou looked at her with that gaze fixed on him, his face turned pale as death, and his heart felt a bit uneasy. When he thought about today's happy events, he stopped arguing with her and strode upstairs. Mo Qingrong was also shocked by his slap. He is a jerk, but he has never touched his foster mother. Today is the first time. Mo Jiahui has been in the room all along. She heard the commotion downstairs and hasn't come out yet. Now that she is wearing designer clothes and carrying designer bags, they are all given to her by her father. She has long been tired of her own mother, who is both homely and embarrassing. Mo Qingrong quickly went over and hugged Li Qing, silently comforting her. Suddenly, she felt a warm liquid in her hand, which was Li Qing's tears. She cried for the first time in all these years, seeing her foster mother cry. When the family couldn't open the pot, she never cried. This slap really broke her heart. She hated herself, for seeing the wrong person and using the wrong emotions. "Mom, don't cry. You still have me, and I will always be with you." Mo Qingrong comforted her. In this family, only the foster mother is sincere to her. Li Qing looked at Mo Qingrong's face, wiped away her tears, and pulled out a smile that was even worse than crying. "It's okay, Mom, it's okay. You go back to sleep quickly," she said in the middle of the night. Mo Qingrong came out to use the restroom and saw Li Qing still standing in a posture, her eyes becoming increasingly firm. There were some things that needed to be understood. In fact, Li Qing was not unaware that Mo Yunzhou had a mistress outside, but she still held a glimmer of hope. Mo Yunzhou still loved her, but she didn't expect that he would personally say that he couldn't give birth to a son, using words to tear apart the scars in her heart. The slap she received extinguished the last glimmer of hope in her heart. She decided to divorce Mo Yunzhou and leave him even if he left the house alone. A tree lives on its skin, a person lives on its breath. She, Li Qing, is not someone to be underestimated. As for Jiehui, she fully respects her daughter's opinion and decides who she wants to follow. But the only thing she couldn't bear to part with was her son Mo Qingrong. Although they had no blood relationship, she really treated him like a biological son. He was also sensible and left alone. There was no one to protect him in this family. What should we do? When Li Qing saw Mo Qingrong come out to use the restroom, she made up her mind to take him with her. He didn't even have a normal bedroom at home, and it was all her fault. And what about Mo Yunzhou? I am currently sleeping soundly in the room. He was extremely happy. The woman he raised outside today, Zhao Lingyu, gave birth to a son for him. With her own son, he naturally felt happy. In addition, tonight he met with Mr. Wang from Yaoyang Real Estate again, and as long as he agreed to one condition, he could immediately sign the 30 million yuan project to him. That's why he came back rare and didn't get angry with Mo Qingrong. Chapter 8. 10 Lives Not Enough to Pay. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, after finishing breakfast, Mo Qingrong went to report to the Li family. Gu Lin gave him some basic information to familiarize him with the company's business first. The first day's work was very simple. I got off work on time and didn't see the CEO of Li's today. After work, Mo Yunzhou called him with a rare gentle tone and asked him to go to the Huadu Imperial Mansion for a social gathering, hoping to take him with him. As far as he knows, his mistress just gave birth to a son for him yesterday. He is currently beautiful, and perhaps he has also been treated better by his mistress. After all, Mo Yunzhou had given her family affection before, and Mo Qingrong hesitated for a while before going. In the private room given to him by Mo Yunzhou, she was like a little white rabbit entering a wolf's den. Mr. Wang from Yaoyang Real Estate looked at Mo Qingrong lewdly and nodded at Mo Yunzhou. Mr. Mo, who is this? Mr. Wang's gaze has been fixed on Mo Qingrong, making him very uncomfortable. Mo Yunzhou quickly approached and pulled Mo Qingrong over. Mr. Wang, would you like to introduce my son, Mo Qingrong, a high-achieving student from a university? He is about to graduate, so please take good care of him. The care in Mo Yunzhou's mouth was deliberately bitten, indicating something. Turning to Mo Qingrong, he said, "This is Mr. Wang from Yaoyang Real Estate. Say hello." Mo Qingrong looked at the hand extended by Wang Yaoyang, which was all yellow cocoons smoked out, with a smile on his face, a pile of fat squeezed together, indescribably disgusting. She endured the physical discomfort and reached out her hand. "Hello Uncle Wang." Unexpectedly, the hand he handed over was tightly grasped by Wang Yaoyang, and he even took the opportunity to touch it a few times, showing his lewdness. Mo Qingrong pulled out with all his might, his timid expression making Wang Yaoyang even more excited. "It's okay, I'll have plenty of time to play with this little cutie later." During the socializing, Mo Qingrong was inevitably drunk, and there were occasional glances from Wang Yaoyang at the dinner table. She endured nausea and reluctantly took a few bites of food. "Dad, I'm feeling a bit unwell and want to go back early." Mo Qingrong realized that something was wrong with his body, and this feeling was too familiar, as if he had been drugged. Mo Qingrong didn't have time to think about that and hurriedly sent a message to Han Wei with his phone. "I still have to socialize here for a while. Mr. Wang is also going home, so let him take you back on the way." After speaking, Mo Yunzhou gave Wang Yaoyang a glance. After receiving the signal, Wang Yaoyang immediately spoke up, "Yes, uncle will take you back on the way." Mo Qingrong is not a fool either. There is nothing else he doesn't understand. Mo Yunzhou made it clear that he wanted to send her to Wang Yaoyang's bed, but he pitifully held on to his last glimmer of hope. She knew it was useless to refuse, so she could only pray that Han Wei would arrive quickly. Wang Yaoyang helped her slowly walk out. If it weren't for the wrong situation, Mo Qingrong estimated that he would just eat and wipe himself clean on the spot. She didn't want to be supported by Wang Yaoyang. She tried to stand up and walk on her own, but it couldn't resist the soreness on her body. Damn it, when she stood up, the fat man just helped her. To outsiders, it was like wanting to refuse and still welcome her. Coincidentally, tonight Li Qing and his friends were gathering at the Imperial Palace in Huadu. When they went out to the restroom, they saw Mo Qingrong and a sleazy old man colluding. Li Qing recognized her. Although he had only seen identification photos, his memory was profound. He didn't expect his newly recruited assistant to have such a side. Li Qing didn't look much and returned to the private room. This was their personal matter, and as long as he had strong abilities, he wouldn't say much. At the door, Mo Qingrong was helped into the car by the fat man. In the car, he couldn't help but touch her. Mo Qingrong was so disgusted that he resisted hard. "Stinky kid, it's your good fortune that I'm interested in you. Your father doesn't even want you anymore. Why don't you follow me? I'll guarantee you a lifetime of prosperity and prosperity." As Wang Yaoyang watched, she was about to take off her clothes. Mo Qingrong saw his outstretched hand and used all his strength to bite him. Wang Yaoyang screamed in pain, but she didn't let go, no matter how hard he hit her. Suddenly, the driving car was stopped by a bright red sports car. Mo Qingrong knew it was Han Wei and used his last bit of strength before fainting. Wang Yaoyang shook his bitten, bloody hand and questioned the driver, "What's going on?" Before the driver could answer, a man in a bathrobe got off the sports car across from him, like an emperor in the darkness, with a cold and intimidating look in his eyes that even others dared not speak. The man walked towards them again with a clang-clang sound, kicked the car door with one foot, and then with two kicks, the car door was kicked off. He looked at Mo Qingrong in the back seat, and the anger in his eyes almost killed them. Reaching out his arm again, he carefully picked her up and said, "You better be glad she's okay today, otherwise." The man glanced up at the two people in the car with a faint glance. 10 of your lives is not enough to compensate." Han Wei held Mo Qingrong and carefully placed her in the back seat of his car, running through red lights and taking her to his private hospital. Standing still, the driver and Wang Yaoyang in the car were already scared out of their wits by the sudden arrival of the man, panting heavily and not caring about their injuries. Chapter 9. Relationship with Li Qing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In a private hospital, Mo Qingrong lay on the hospital bed, with a drip on his hand and the warmth still lingering on his body. His face was still flushed. After Chu Nan entered, he saw Han Wei sitting next to the hospital bed in a bathrobe, his eyes fixed on the young man on the bed. "If you want me to tell you, why don't you take this opportunity to kill someone, or just throw him a woman? Why bother wasting my medicine here?" Chu Nan knew that Han Wei liked Mo Qingrong, but he didn't know that Mo Qingrong was a woman. "Get lost," Han Wei said impatiently, "I'm not the kind of person who takes advantage of someone's situation." Okay, be your righteous gentleman. It's really useless if God gives you a chance," Chu Nan said before retreating. Han Wei stood guard by Mo Qingrong step by step, and it wasn't until midnight that Mo Qingrong woke up leisurely. The heat on her body has dissipated, and the medicine has been completely relieved. Her body is rare and relaxed. Just as she was about to stretch, she felt something pressing on her arm. It was Han Wei's head, and he just fell asleep guarding himself. He was still wearing a bathrobe, so he should have come out immediately upon receiving his message. Mo Qingrong was deeply moved in his heart. She slowly pulled out her arms, took a blanket next to her and covered Han Wei's body, then slowly fell asleep again. The next morning, there was only Han Wei left in the ward. When he woke up, Mo Qingrong had already left. Looking at the message she sent him, Han Wei couldn't help but feel angry. She just took medicine last night and is still in a hurry to go to work today. How much money does she need? Of course, there is no shortage. In recent years, Mo Qingrong has made an unknown amount of money just by taking orders in the organization. In addition, she has a unique perspective and invests in things that are stable and profitable. The money in her card has almost doubled in profit, and she has countless assets in her hands. It's not an exaggeration to say that she is the richest person in a city, but of course, we should ignore the leader of the Li family, Li Qing. Li Qing woke up this morning and felt that he might have gone crazy. Last night, when he returned to the private room, his mind was filled with the new assistant, Mo Qingrong. Before it was over, he left early. He always felt uneasy in his heart. He was worried about that little assistant, perhaps also wanting to confirm something, so he called Gu Lin and asked him to check Mo Qingrong's position. When he learned that she had been taken into the car by the old man, he was so angry that he almost smashed his phone. He didn't know where this temper came from, but later heard that someone had saved her midway, and he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, she didn't really go to accompany that old man, but at night, Li Qing couldn't sleep anymore. Who was the person who saved her? Does Mo Qingrong like men? Is that person her boyfriend? Very good, Li Qing rarely experiences insomnia. The next day, Li Qing came down to eat with a pair of black circles under his eyes, and Wu Mama was startled. He walked to the company again with these black circles under his eyes, and Gu Lin was also startled. Li Qing felt that something was wrong with him recently. He called his assistant and Mo Qingrong answered, "Come to my office." Mo Qingrong raised his eyebrows and finally saw the big boss of the Li family. But when he opened the office door, she was dumbfounded. How could it be him? The man who slept with her that day. Mo Qingrong woke up early and saw the man's face, but Li Qing never remembered who he was sleeping with from beginning to end. The results of the investigation also made it difficult for him to accept. Mo Qingrong was only stunned for a moment before returning to normal. "What's the matter with the CEO looking for me?" Li Qing looked at her with a delicate face. Upon closer inspection, there were still some demons, their emaciated figures resembling those who had been suffering from malnutrition for a long time. A gentle breeze blew in, and the clothes were tightly pressed against her waist. Li Qing's eyes darkened, even thinner than a woman's waist. Mo Qingrong looked at Li Qing pressing against her without saying a word, and couldn't help but remind her, "CEO. Call Su Lingluo over," Li Qing said without any embarrassment of being hit. "Yes." Mo Qingrong received the message and slowly retreated. Su Lingluo, there have been rumors with Li Qing before, and Mo Qingrong has also seen them. Now it seems that the rumors are true, they really have an affair. But Li Qing didn't think so. He had been paying too much attention to Mo Qingrong these days. He wanted to find a woman to see if he was interested in women. After much thought, he thought of Su Lingluo, who had previously been rumored to be involved with him. Although it was an accident, she happened to be an artist under the Li family, and no one was more suitable than her. On the other hand, Su Lingluo heard that President Li wanted to see her and excitedly postponed the afternoon interview. She carefully dressed up before slowly leaving. On the way, Su Lingluo's heart kept beating incessantly. The only intersection he had with President Li was staying in the same hotel, and it happened that he was captured by a paparazzi that led to those rumors. Su Lingluo also rose to fame as a result, becoming a popular actress. Even the company thought he had a relationship with Mr. Li and praised her as the queen of the film. She often boasted about her relationship with Mr. Li outside, but in fact, the two had never met before. Chapter 10. I want to take Qingrong away. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As for Li Qing, he sent someone to investigate back then, and the two were purely accidental, not directed or acted by Su Lingluo. After suppressing the scandal, there was no extra explanation. In Su Lingluo's eyes, it was different. She had always thought that Li Qing was silently following her, otherwise how could she be praised for her position as the queen of the film, and she even directed and acted in so many scenes outside. Speaking of which, today can be considered as the first official meeting between Su Lingluo and Li Qing. After Su Ling stepped on Hentian and got to the company, Mo Qingrong smelled the pungent perfume from a long distance. He resisted the urge to vomit and took her to the president's office. Or does the smell on Li Qing smell better? Hiss, what is she thinking? It's really crazy. Mo Qingrong patted his head and returned to the workstation. Continuing to work, my mind slowly drifted to the CEO's office. Su Lingluo tidied up her clothes, put on a smile she thought was pretty, and walked in. Mr. Li, you're looking for me, she said. Li Qing responded faintly. Then there was no movement. Su Lingluo was standing at the door, neither sitting nor standing. Li Qing was still busy with work there. Why did he see her coming? Is it because Mr. Li is shy and unable to speak, then she should be more proactive? I don't know what Mr. Li is looking for from me. Su Lingluo didn't feel any discomfort from being ignored, but instead appeared dignified. Li Qing suddenly remembered the purpose of calling her here, put down the folder in his hand, waved his hand, and said, "You come over." Su Lingluo was extremely excited in her heart, but she still pretended to be reserved. It was the first time she was so close to the CEO of the Li family. It was really better to see than to hear rumors. That perfect face, that cold and noble temperament, apart from him, there would be no second person. The thought of this person immediately belonging to her, Su Lingluo, made her eyes unable to conceal her ambition. Li Qing has been involved in business for so many years, and naturally he can see it, with an imperceptible disgust flashing in his eyes. As Su Ling falls closer and closer, the perfume smell on her body makes her head jump. Does this woman want to suffocate him? Stop! Li Qing suddenly let out a sound, and Su Lingluo was so shocked that he accidentally knocked over the milk on the table. It was prepared for him by Wu Mama and now it was all spilled on the woman's skirt. His face turned gloomy. Su Lingluo immediately panicked and said, "Sorry, CEO, I didn't mean to." "You go out." Su Lingluo finally dared to take a big breath, it was so terrifying. In that moment, she felt like Li Qing was going to eat her, but only such a man had the desire to be conquered. When Su Lingluo left, she was very embarrassed, with white liquid all over her body. If others saw her, they wouldn't think positively. What else could she do when she was alone in the same room? However, the CEO is also a bit too fast, just a few minutes. This is exactly what Su Lingluo wants to see. Mo Qingrong naturally saw that she was not an innocent little girl, she knew exactly what it was. TSK, does she remember the time she and Li Qing didn't go so fast? Is it overuse, not enough? You deserve it, scumbag. In the office, Li Qing's face became increasingly gloomy. Just as Su Lingluo approached him, Mo Qingrong's green and immature face appeared before his eyes, which was not a good omen. After finishing work, Mo Qingrong returned home and as soon as he opened the door, he saw Mo Yunzhou sitting in the middle, staring at her with a fierce expression. Sitting next to her was a young woman holding a child. He, she eagerly brought Sanner in. Lin Qing, on the left side of the sofa, looked coldly at the despicable couple, and only then did her gaze add a touch of tenderness when it fell on Mo Qingrong. Before Mo Qingrong could change her shoes, a cup rushed towards her, followed by Mo Yunzhou's fierce questioning. "You unfilial thing, where did you go last night? Do you know that you messed up a $30 million project?" Mo Qingrong also understood that this father couldn't turn his head anymore. Since that's the case, there's no need to worry about that little bit of family affection. Did I stir up the yellow? What? I didn't climb onto Mr. Wang's bed, so your project was gone. Mr. Mo is so capable, using his own son to negotiate business. Mo Yunzhou was told the truth by him, without any embarrassment of being exposed. Instead, he persisted, "It's your blessing that you can be worth 30 million yuan. If others want to come or not, it's better not to adopt you than to play with me." White-eyed wolf. Li Qing listened to the man's curses and looked at the increasingly unfamiliar man. She slowly closed her eyes and her heart completely died. "Let's get a divorce," she said slowly. The young woman next to her, Mo Yunzhou, the mistress outside, Zhao Lingyu, curled her lips and had a calculating expression on her face. She laughed when she heard Li Qing's words. Mo Yunzhou didn't care to scold Mo Qingrong anymore. "This is what you mentioned first," he said. Mo Yunzhou is still concerned about his own face. He doesn't take the initiative to propose a divorce, fearing that others will say that he will abandon his wife after he becomes wealthy. However, if it were Li Qing who proposed it, it would be different. Li Qing only has one condition: "I want to take Qingrong away."